Hi, I'm Diane.
And I'm Elisa.
And this is
I'm in Sofia.
So we have a guest today, Lars. Could you say hello to us for everybody?
Just 1 second, we'll be there.
He's eating chocolate because we tend to give our guests
we're very
chocolate.
nice and we give chocolate to our guests, so that is why.
I'm Lars and I'm from Norway and I live here in Sofia.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
So before we ask Lars some questions, we'll get the Bulgarian word of the day from Elisa.
Okay. It's gonna be something interesting. Constituция.
Constituția.
Yeah.
Okay, and the meaning of this is?
Constitution.
Okay, where am I going to use this?
This is a political thing. It's about our constitution.
So there's do people talk about the Bulgarian constitution a lot?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of like we change it. They want to change some stuff.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay. So Lars, how's your Bulgarian?
How is my Bulgarian?
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty close to non-existent.
Okay, just like me.
You have something in common. She's been here for a while, but she still doesn't talk that much Bulgarian.
But you can speak Norwegian. I'm fully conversant in Norwegian.
You're from Norway, and I think a lot of people would be curious to know why Bulgaria from Norway? Because Norway is also known to be very beautiful.
Why did I leave Norway?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't really leave Norway. Well, I still have an address. I go there every now and then. But I came here because of work. And I decided to stay.
Okay, so can you tell us more about your work here? Like, how do you like it?
Well, that was the reason I came, but then because I like the city, because I like Bojana, because I met some good people, and because it's close to Norway.
Is it close to Norway?
Well,
it's in Europe. So.
How long does it take?
Everything is relative. I have lived in and worked in 50 or 60 different countries.
Oh wow!
And I've lived, and they are all far away.
So it's not travel. You've lived in 50, 60 countries.
Yeah. So how do you compare your life?
Bangladesh, Mauritania, Ghana, US, Switzerland.
Wow,
that's a wide variety of countries.
Yeah. So from that point of view, Bulgaria is pretty close to Norway.
Compared to these other countries, definitely.
Only one time zone away.
So what is the main reason? What is the main thing that ties you to Bulgaria and kind of motivated you to stay here?
Well, I think I've said some of it. It's close to Norway. It's interesting work. There's good skiing.
You like skiing? You like the mountains?
There's good food. There's good wine.
Cool.
Wow, good wine.
From the point of view of Norway, it's cheap to live here.
Always the upside as well.
So, things cost on the average 25-30% of what they cost in Norway.
Wow. Wow.
Cheaper.
Except the rent, which...
Except the rent.
Really? The rent?
I would have expected
It's
Norway
higher
to
here?
be very
I
high.
totally
I'm sure
know
it's
it's-
not higher, but
No.
we're talking 35% low.
Rent, but Bojana is costly. I'm not sure what a comparable place in Norway would be like rent-wise, but well, it's certainly not 1/3 of what the rent in Norway is. That is true. That is correct. Yeah.
So, can you tell us your life in Bojana and why you chose here?
My life in Bojana.
Not specifically Sofia, but Bojana.
My life in Bojana.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? What I do?
Is there an
get up in the morning.
expat community?
I have breakfast. No, I work. I work from home.
Okay, cool.
I write. I sit on my laptop most of the day. A lot of the day. I go for a walk. I have a bike. Vitusha is right behind me.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's right there. Very close to the mountain. It's very nice there. Right?
You know what Kopitutu is?
Oh, of course I know.
I look up on it.
It's just beautiful view there.
Yes, it is. That's for you. It's a big TV tower there. If you've seen that.
Okay.
So I run up there, or I bike up, or I.
You do all these activities. So you're liking skiing, biking, and stuff like that. Those are your hobbies, right?
One thing I cannot do from there is fishing. I do fly fishing. Then I have to travel quite some away. The Rupis or Rila or
Riva, in the mountain there is a. Yes.
So and then I don't know. I have a nice fireplace, and in the evening I sit in front of that and read.
So real working fireplace. It's a real working fireplace.
As opposed to a non-working fireplace.
Yeah, have you seen them over there? Have you seen
exist.
There's a bunch in the center.
No, it's a real working fireplace. Lots of wood this summer. Oak. Yes.
And you cut up all the firewood and everything?
No. I mean, you buy it ready to be used.
Okay.
Pay for that, of course.
Yes.
I have a friend who drove it home for me.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. I live alone.
Is it easy to get there? Is there transportation, like public transport? Is it?
I don't have a car because until last year, I lived partly in Norway and partly here and partly a lot of other places. And then it was a difficult thing to have a car to take care of at the same time. Now I'm here more permanent, so maybe I'll get one. So transportation is kind of not costly from my point of view, but it's cumbersome. I used to take a taxi, but that I stopped doing. Now I take a bus. I have to walk 20 minutes, and then I catch a bus down to Mall Bulgaria, and then tram number 7. And like tonight, when I'm going to meet some friends, if I want to take public transportation back, I have to leave this pub at around 10 o'clock to catch the last bus. Otherwise, I have to take a taxi. So that's a drawback. But so far, it's been okay. Except now that this guy wants to increase the rent.
For your house, they want to increase the rent.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you told us a little bit.
25% increase. So we'll see what happens. I may move away and then I'll come into town, the center.
So how many rooms does it have?
It's a big one.
Four rooms, I think.
Four rooms, and it's
on 2 levels, and there's a garage. Yeah.
And you said it was 1,300 level, right? And now it wants to increase it much higher.
To 1,650 or 800 euro.
Is this a normal price range for this area? Is there a normal price range?
Not according to any of the people on this Facebook group that I posted a note on.
I don't know.
It's exorbitant. Get out of there, Lars. And they also said that during the pandemic now rents have decreased, and this guy has been increasing it these 2 years. He adds interest each year, about 3%.
Okay. And you think it's because you're from Norway, or specifically just because you're a foreigner?
I'm beginning to wonder, since he came up with this thing. If he had said, half of what the increase, then I would have wondered. Or either that, or he's simply not aware of the rent situation in Bojana. But I have problems with that too. So we'll see. I'll meet him this weekend. That's it.
But your contract did expire. Your lease expired, right?
Yes. So he wants to make a new contract. We'll see. Then I feel that he wants to include the 3% annual increase because of inflation.
Low inflation, yeah.
Which I'm
it's
not
coming to be real hard,
in.
Yeah.
But Norway's cost of living is very high compared to here, right?
This is what I gather, and a lot of Bulgarians think that as well.
Yeah, that's what.
What is the rent for this apartment?
This one is about. Cannot reveal it. It's a friend, so cannot reveal it. But I would say when people think Norway, it's a very rich country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Well, Norway is rich, but that doesn't mean that citizens are rich.
Oh.
And how do you compare the life here and the other countries that you have lived? Is there something specific that you like here, or is like?
Well, it's compared to Africa and Asia, it's more a Western situation. Except that there's as much litter in the streets and the subways, so entrances, for example, as there is in Bangladesh. It's not very clean, so that's a drawback.
Yeah.
And Norway is clean, period.
Yeah, how about the sightseeing here? Have you enjoyed seeing some sightseeing, like I don't know, something that you took like interest in?
In the city, very little actually. I've been a little outside Varna, Dobrich, the Rila Mountains, up along the Danube, but not a lot. I've not seen this famous monastery in Rila, for example, which everybody seems to go to.
Yeah, you should go there. But the monastery is very famous here, place to.
It's a drawback of not having a car.
Yeah.
So if you have a place you're renting and you really like it, do they keep is it very normal for them to raise the rent prices in Bulgaria? Do you know about this, Elisa?
Well, in general, at some point after maybe 1 year or something, they might raise it. But the thing is that it depends on the owner. The owner, yeah, it depends on the owner. So, for example, I know that for some places people don't raise it, but it is typical for at some point, maybe after years, to raise a little bit, or maybe raise a little bit, but maybe not that much. But it depends on the owner. I mean, it's a different situation everywhere.
I did get the impression that a lot actually, if you are paying on time, they'd rather have you stay.
Yeah, if you're actually like a person that's like sticking to their contract and pay on time, I don't think they will make a problem and raise it just because they keep you as a good tenant. So I think that's how they treated this situation.
Okay.
At least most of the cases I know. Yeah.
So Lars, do you collect anything?
Oh, that was one of the questions.
Yes.
I collect books.
Okay.
Nice. Can we talk more about your favorite books?
Or what kind of things do you like to collect? Do you like special editions, things that are valuable?
Here's an issue. The one thing that you have not asked me about.
Sure.
And that I consider essential when you want to learn about another person is my education and my job. What do I do?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask that.
I was wondering why you.
We did kind of gloss over that. We thought you might not want to answer
you
this.
You know that I started at UCLA.
Yeah, he actually told me.
But you didn't ask what I study.
I think you studied film studies.
Wait?
Film studies?
Would you like to tell us what you studied?
Film studies.
Didn't you?
I have a friend that did that. They have a famous film school. Maybe you knew that.
Okay, can you tell us more about your education?
No, I studied anthropology, social anthropology.
Okay.
I am an anthropologist.
Oh wow.
Okay.
This is interesting.
And so what do I work with? I have to ask the questions?
Yes.
Yes, it's more
Please
about...
explain everything.
What do you
I
want to
work
share?
with what maybe both of you will recognize. Bulgarians do not, as a rule. Development cooperation.
And I have no knowledge of any of
Then
this.
you follow most Bulgarians. Does that mean anything to you? Development cooperation. It doesn't have anything to do with psychology, for example. You know what the World Bank is?
What's one?
Yes.
The World Bank.
Yes, of course.
You know what the World Bank does?
Yes.
But is this related to your specific studies?
Well, I mean, what? The World Bank hires people from many different professions.
Okay.
So the World Bank finances what is called development projects.
Okay, so they finance your projects. They finance your projects related to anthropology.
Or rather, they hire me to work on their projects in health, in education, in infrastructure.
Cool.
I used to work for the World Bank in Washington, D.C. And after I left, I started my own consulting firm. I have one here and one in Norway, and I do the same. I work for EU or for the World Bank or for the UN.
Wow, that's amazing. So
I prepare, I implement, and I evaluate development projects. That's what I've done when I've been traveling to all these countries and living abroad. But now I work mostly at this time with projects here in Bulgaria and Eastern Europe, funded by my own country through a grant system to the EU. So here in Bulgaria now I'm involved in projects with the Roma minority and with clean alternative energy and what else? With culture, artists. Yeah, a number of projects here and in Romania and in Latvia and Czechia, as I recall. So that's what I do.
And all this can be done from your home?
Yeah, specifically after the pandemic struck the world, there's been very little traveling. I just learned 2 days ago that a project that we applied for together with some people in Latvia will get funding, and I'll do training, and all of it will be done via internet, which I find very sad because in order to advise people and interact with people, you should really see them
face to face. Yeah.
I have problems with this this online thing. I don't think it's optimal. So I'm going to argue that we can travel at least some to in this case to Latvia. We'll see. It's also a nice country.
And out of those projects, can you tell us more about the projects with the Roma people? Because it's going to be interesting for our people to hear about.
Do you want some details about Roma project? Was that what you said?
Yeah, something that it's interesting about that. I don't know. If you can share, if you cannot, that's fine.
Okay.
Are these very confidential projects?
Huh?
Are your projects confidential?
If they're really confidential.
No.
Oh.
They're not. No. I was thinking which project I should tell you about.
All right.
So one was within Roma NGO here in Sofia. We made films or small videos, about 20 of them. Each is 10 plus minutes long, where we interviewed Roma. We simply started and we said talk about whatever, and we did not interrupt.
Nice, yes.
There was no question. It was just them talking about their life, about their job, about their family, about the problems, financial, marital, whatever.
Yeah.
And they are all available now on the internet. They were shown on a TV channel, and the point with this was, I believe strongly that, well, first of all, there is an enormous amount of racism in this country against Roma. Undue so. And I believe that not just in Bulgaria, but anywhere else on the planet where there are ethnic groups which are in conflict. A basic reason why there is racism and conflict and discrimination is because the two groups do not communicate.
There's a barrier.
Total abyss between them. And when there is no communication, there is no understanding. And and when there's no understanding, then if I'm a Roma and one of you want to understand me and try and figure out who I am, and you don't know anything about me, then sooner or later you will start making up things that you think could be the case.
Right, yeah. I understand.
And they will usually be wrong. More often than not, they will be wrong. So one idea with this particular film project and all the other ones I've been involved in is to explain to, in this case, to the majority population, what Roma are, what they do, what they think, what they believe in order to try and contribute to breaking down this barrier between them.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether we have succeeded or not, I don't know. Maybe I'm not very optimistic because it's so ingrained in society. This communication, this lack of communication. I mean, there were some burglaries in the neighborhood where I live in Bojana, and people said immediately, Sigun, gypsies. They don't know anything about it, and it turned out that they were not Roma.
Wow.
So,
do you think we have a chance to actually improve in this direction, and what do you think Bulgarians should improve in this way?
Well, it depends on things that it's difficult to address in any project. Your education system should be drastically changed, and people, I don't know, it's so complicated, and it's such a long drawn process, and it's been, Roma has lived here since probably maybe 800 years.
Yeah.
And it's been like that from the beginning. And they have some problems because they don't want to be integrated, or they want to, but on their own terms. For example, they have a strong emphasis on children starting working at an early age, which means they get in conflict with the educational system because they don't want to go to school.
They don't put them in school. Yeah.
And that is obviously, and I agree with that, that's mandatory. Children should go to school. Yes. And the parents don't believe that or think it's correct. So there are issues on both sides. But the majority, which has all the might, all the power, should, I think, take a first step. I worked on another project which addressed penitentiaries, or rather inmates in penitentiaries. Do you know how many Roma there are in Bulgaria?
I don't know.
It's very unclear because many of them, when you have censuses, they don't declare them as Roma because they don't want to be Roma.
Yeah.
So it's probably higher than the official percentage, which is around 4%, probably maybe several percent higher. And so, do you know how many Roma inmates there are in jails in Bulgaria?
I don't know.
60-70% are Roma.
Wow, this is a really big percentage.
So it's an enormous difference.
Nice.
From 5% maybe to 60-70%. So if you're Roma, you are more likely to end up in jail for the same crime than if you are a non-Roma.
I know, this is like not fair at all.
Okay, so yes,
many things have to be changed.
This is something that I'm not completely versed in these topics, but it's a very interesting thing to
discuss and
research for people, especially for foreigners, because I think a lot of foreigners are not really aware of this topic.
So really, thank you for sharing that.
And also, I'm very curious, as an anthropologist, from your point of view, is there something that you've noticed with Bulgarian people or Bulgarian culture as an anthropologist? Is there some, from your perspective?
Somewhat.
For the
from
an anthropologist perspective.
Something about Bulgarian culture.
Culture and people, yes.
What would that be? Well, one thing that comes to mind, which is a little less touchy maybe, is the fact that it seems to me that you guys are extremely superstitious.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, we have a few things in Norway, something about if a black cat crosses the street in front of you or whatever, something can happen. But I can count on one hand the number of cases of such things, and we don't really believe in it. But here,
I know, yeah, it's kind of true. I agree.
it's enormous.
What is the number one superstition in Bulgaria?
Superstition?
Yes, what is the number one superstition?
The number.
One, like the most common one. Like the black cat one. I haven't even heard one.
Black cat? Friday the 13th, I don't know.
So that's the same one
but like,
exists in
if
Bulgaria?
a black cat crosses your road, people either turn around or like, I don't believe in that. I actually like black cats. But many people, if they see that black cat crossing the road, oh, it's a bad luck.
Oh,
or
okay.
If you break mirror, also they think it's a bad luck.
So about the same things. Almost it's the same.
Yeah, but this probably comes from the past and from our history. I don't know.
Lars, I think a lot of people would find your job to be very interesting. Anthropologist.
Yes.
So, is there a lot of job openings for anthropologists? Is there a lot of things you can do with the anthropology major? Is there a lot of because I actually haven't met an anthropologist.
Yeah, me too.
And
I'm the first one.
is there a lot of real life job openings where you can use this knowledge? Except for the World Bank projects.
The traditional thing in all academic subjects is to try and replace your professor so that you continue in a circle. You start in academia and you end up there, which I didn't like. I used to teach at the University of Zurich in Switzerland, and then I was offered the job at the World Bank, and then I became what we will call an applied anthropologist, practicing, which I much appreciate or believe or find interesting. And most of the jobs for anthropologists will be in practical work, educational system. You can do the same thing as a psychologist. There is a close relationship between anthropology and sociology. I mean, there are any number of potential ways that you can practice your subject. It has to do with a little bit with luck,
Yes.
and it has to do with experience and being at the right place at the right time and all of that. But it's easy to find a job.
Do you
it's not easy, but it's there are many different types of jobs you can find.
Do you have a specialty in the field? A specialty?
In anthropology?
Yeah,
Yes.
which one are you like, is there, you're majoring in your minor or something like that?
Anthropology consists of a number of, we call them subdisciplines: politics, religion, kinship, economics, ecology. When I went to Bangladesh to do what is called field work, you live a place and you come back and you write something up on that. And I lived in a village with traditional fishermen, Hindu fishermen. So anyway, my specialty may be fishing and coastal zone management.
Okay.
And in terms of these disciplines, it would be ecology and economics. Yeah.
So you're constantly writing research and
I don't know. I write, but I wouldn't call it research. It's boring. It's project reports.
okay.
What we did, when and where and why. Not in science. There's a difference between what you could call basic research and applied research.
Okay.
I do the latter.
And the project reports, are there conclusions that are more favorable before you even start the project?
When I worked at the World Bank, we were a small group of 10, 15 social scientists in general in a corner of this huge organization of 10, 11,000 staff. And usually at the end of the preparation of the project, the guy who was responsible for developing the particular project would ask us for our opinion or views, because they had to, because it says that the social scientists should have a view on, for example, whether you enough emphasis has been given on local people. When you do a project, for example, if you build a road, invariably people are, somebody has to move away because the road is going to go there and there is a village, so the village has to move. So then the question is, how do you make it up to them? How do you try to compensate for that? Mm-hmm. And they want us to say that, oh, this is nice, this is going to be okay, and it seldom is. Mm-hmm. So we try to be negative, but if we are too negative, then they won't ask us the next time.
Yes.
But so there is a conflict between economists and technocrats on the one side and social scientists on the other side. We, the technocrats and the economists, they listen to the government, to the people. They are interested in what contributes to the overall GNP in the country, and we social scientists are concerned with the impact at the local level on people, and this is a never-ending conflict.
Yes.
Which, in a sense, we always lose. No matter what we say, they say, "Okay, we'll take care of that," and then it doesn't really happen, or it doesn't really work out the way we hoped or advised that it would.
So, what do you think actually for the economic situation after COVID-19? Like, do you think that how we can stabilize the economic situation in general in the world?
Well, that's a very big question. I think it's difficult yet to say. We are still in the middle of it, and things are getting worse by the looks of it. People are losing jobs, income, offices, shops close. I think it has to be. No, I really don't know. I don't think it's going to be any better. Mm-hmm. For the uneducated, for the poor people, if you like, which reminds me another issue that I think, which is, I said superstition. There is another issue in Bulgaria that I'm very concerned with. Mm-hmm. And that is all the people who leave the country. The younger people, mm-hmm. the 20s and the 30-year-olds that are leaving, mm-hmm. and they leave from mostly or large extent from rural areas. There are hundreds of villages mm-hmm. in the north, in the northwest, in the northeast, mm-hmm. which are empty.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anybody behind, it's the grandmother who can't go anywhere. Yeah. And that is, apart from the human issue involved, it's a major economic issue, because the local communes do not get any income, they don't get any tax. There is no users, there's no school, so the school closes, the shop closes, what have you. That's a big issue. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually quite, no, not quite, I am, we had a new government, which is positive. And Mr. Borisov is out permanently. Mm-hmm. and there's a new president. Of course, he doesn't have a very important role at all to play, but I hope that this can change things. What needs to be done in this country is partly to get people back is one thing, but if not, to open up for immigration of people that want to settle in rural areas and actually work as farmers, produce things, live there. So I would like to, and that I would like to contribute to, if I can. I have people that I know in Bangladesh who would be interested in contributing to sending
seeds,
poor farmers to come here and live and work.
Oh wow!
And I hope that would be possible to do. It doesn't have to be Bangladesh, but some people. Bulgaria is the country in the world which has a world record, a negative world record when it comes to demography.
Yeah.
The population is contracting enormously, more so than any other country in the world, as far as I know. And it's the poorest country in the EU.
It is the poorest country in the EU?
Absolutely. You didn't know that? No, it is. So, I mean, for all the good things I mentioned earlier, food and wine and culture and history and all of that, it's the poorest country, and it has an enormous level of corruption in public sector and in private sector.
Yeah, that's so true.
Which contributes to maintaining poverty.
Exactly.
So if there's one thing us foreigners can contribute here, it would be to do that.
How about as Bulgarians? How about for Bulgarians? Is there a progressive small step that you can advise on?
Most Bulgarians I meet would agree with me, what I said, just like you know your head here.
Yeah, I mean,
but most of them seem to think that we cannot do anything. Nobody listens to us. And a main reason for that is that there is an enormous lack of trust
in the government.
Partly horizontal between people. People don't trust each other.
Yeah. That's really
and they definitely don't trust whoever is in charge of government. A main consequence of that is that Bulgaria has the lowest level of COVID vaccinations in all of EU. It's something like 30%.
Yeah.
Because and people have all these weird arguments. Why? I mean, there are some conspiracy theories of God knows what.
Yeah, it's because of the lack of trust in the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. I have another issue that I work on. A very important part of my work is to evaluate development projects. You find out at the end what went bad, what was good, and then you hope that somebody will learn from it. Evaluation and monitoring. So I started some years back what is now a national network of monitoring and evaluation in Bulgaria. The website is evaluation.bg.
Interesting.
And I would like to get in touch with people in public sector, specifically in the parliament, and argue the case why evaluation is important. As it is today, some people, Bulgaria does not have a plan for how to do evaluation, either public sector, private sector, civil society. So there's no standardization. So if a company would like to have an evaluation done, I don't know, they find a...
This is what your company does, evaluations?
This is part of what I do, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So if a private sector company wants to do an evaluation, they find a company maybe like mine and ask them to do it. The public sector never bothers, civil society, I don't think so. So mostly we find the private sector, and very often, or no, not very often, at least in some cases, I should be careful here, at least in some cases, the person who is doing the evaluation is asked kind of cautiously, we think that the problem is such and such, and we hope that you would find that in your study. In other words, a leading comment. Nobody, why people want to have an evaluation is because it reflects positively on their job if the result is good. So they would like to have a good result. And then they tell the evaluator that we really think that you should not focus on that and that, but you should focus on that and that.
That's really important.
Evaluations are highly subjective.
Sorry?
Highly subjective. Subjective to whoever maybe requests for an evaluation. Can you steer the results towards what they want?
Yeah. And the reason they can do that is because the government does not have any standardized rules for how to do evaluation, and this is why I would like to speak with somebody in the parliament who hopefully there will be a better understanding for it now with the change of the political system of why evaluation is important, why it should be standardized, and why if you have standardized evaluation you can fight corruption.
This is very important, and I hope you can manage to do it.
All right, so we have the person to contact in the case people want.
Some evaluation for...
Yes, and
Yes,
so we can end on that note.
Of course, definitely.
Yes, so thank you, Lars, for
Thank you
letting
very
us know much about your profession and
And
also about Bulgaria.
I thank you for the opportunity to talk about these issues. Yes.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye everyone.